And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of OA News Overtime on
Jordan.
the road.
Jordan. We use overtime on the road.
You
We're
might
here.
not
Look at this.
look at this.
We're here.
You might not be able to tell, but we are not in the office.
We're not there.
In Opelika,
We're here.
Alabama. We're in Birmingham. We just wrapped up the last day of SEC Media Days.
SEC Media Days is back. How exciting.
Back and
right?
over and better than ever.
Back, yeah, man. Yeah, first year wasn't COVID last year, so didn't have it last year. First year back.
Yeah.
What a spectacle.
What
All
a-
the media members, people, reporters from far and
As
wide.
far as the eye could
from
see.
all across the Southeast, packed, rows and rows of them in there, and none of them have ever talked to a girl. It's amazing.
It's incredible. It is simply incredible. Well, today was an important one as far as Auburn's concerned. They got to go. They closed this thing down.
Close it out. Yeah, we're
They
shutting it down.
We
We got people taking away the Dr. Pepper.
No more Dr. Pepper. Gonna have to wait until the SEC championship game if you want any. But we got a chance to talk to Brian Harsin. Got a chance to talk to Owen Papo and also Bo Nix. Kind of a pretty. Nothing crazy out of what was said today, and we weren't really expecting
Right.
any big bombshells. But
Sure.
what were your thoughts on what we heard from everybody and what they had to say with the season a little bit over a month away?
It was a lot more of what you expect. It's we got a start date for once. That'll
Sure.
help. It helps to start practice. August 6th, August 5th, they'll report for a meeting. August 6th, they'll have their first workout. And interesting that he said they were going to split. Something interesting, Jordan.
Oh, yeah?
That they were going to split the teams over to the newcomers, and they were going to have the returning players in another one. And it's kind of interesting to me because your newcomers, that's going to include freshmen, but also all these transfers that they brought in. Is it like 9? How many is it?
Yeah, 9.
9 transfers. So all the new people, the coaches are going to get one-on-one time with them, kind of in their own groups for the first 2 practices. Then they're going to jump in. So as far as on the field, that was about the only interesting thing we got, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and then also confirmation that the JUCO, the guy's going to have to go JUCO.
Yeah, Juwan Gaston.
Juwan Gaston, a signee from 2021, he's going to have to go the JUCO route. That's about all Brian Harsin can say because obviously you can't talk about recruits, and he's a recruit again. So that's about all he can say is that he's not on the team, and he's going to have to go to junior college.
Yeah,
whatever
most
happened there.
Yeah, most of really the most intriguing stuff that we saw came before Brian Harsin went on the big stage. We had a chance to talk to him as just a local beat. And, when he got out there on the big stage, I think he went like 17 minutes with his opening statement. And
Over 16.
Yeah,
and
took 3 questions.
The over-under at the establishment last night, we were talking about 12. Yeah, he went over by 4.
Significantly.
Yeah. So, hey, man, that's him. He got all the things he wanted to say in. So if that's what, if you're trying to get a message out there, you're a first-year head coach, you do that. And then took 3 questions. So.
And that was my thing. I talked to a couple of different people just about what to expect out of this, and it really came to bear what I thought was going to happen. I said, it's probably going to sound a lot like his introductory press conference.
Yes.
You're going to have a few updates because obviously he's
Right.
been on, he's boots on the ground, since then. He'll give updates on certain things. He'll be able to talk about certain players because he's been around them.
Sure.
But for the most part, it's just going to be, his vision for Auburn football and
Right.
what needs to happen in the future.
Right.
There's not going to be a lot of things that you can just gobble up and say, well, we got to write about this because this is news.
Right. One of the storylines of media days for every team, not just Auburn,
Yep.
was COVID-19 vaccination. Greg Sankey put out a huge effort trying to get every team to 85% vaccination rate. This is the way the SEC is handling it. We've seen the SIAC, where Tuskegee plays, they're mandating it for everybody. It's not a question. You're not playing if you don't get it. Here, a little bit different. And for Brian Harsin today, he declined to comment as to whether he has been vaccinated, and he has said that. Basically, what he said was, "Hey, everything that the Dr. Goodlet, Michael Goodlet, Auburn's team doctor, he says he's put together information. The players have all of that information, and as coach, it seems like he's just kind of absolving himself of it,
Yeah.
and taking a step away. So he says, hey, they have all that information, but he hasn't, didn't comment as where he's taking it. He insists it's a very personal decision, and that's kind of his stance on it. So that's one of the things we learned today.
Yeah, and the personal decision was something he really stressed.
Yeah, he said it over and over.
and that was something that he talked about really before he was even asked if he personally had taken it. He's the second coach this week who declined to comment whether they got the vaccine or not. Mike Leach from Mississippi State was the other one. And it's going to be a big issue. I mean,
Yeah.
something I asked Brian on Tuesday. Kirby Smart talked about it, and he really wants
Just
pretty
Tom
much.
and Gianna leaving from
Yes,
AL.com.
we waved to our
Gianna
friends.
Hahn, goodbye forever.
Yeah, we got our friends there at AL.com.
R.I.P. She's
Kirby
getting another
Smart.
job.
Yes, Kirby Smart on Tuesday talked about that they want to get as many people vaccinated as they can at Georgia.
Yeah,
But it's,
bro, because he doesn't want to forfeit.
because he said the words competitive advantage. It could be a competitive advantage. I mean, think if they're going in the SEC, just a hypothetical situation.
Sure. Okay.
They're going in the SEC championship game
Against Alabama.
They're going to play Alabama. And
Hypothetically speaking.
yes, that'll never happen. And, they don't want to come up on Tuesday before the game and say, well, we just lost 3.
Our whole offensive line is knocked out for contact tracing.
Exactly. One person tested positive, all of a sudden we can't play. Our
got to play backup O-line.
Exactly. So I asked Harsin about, that thought process. Not necessarily, is that the thought process you use, but sort of like, does that kind of make sense?
Right.
I mean, and that was something he kind of – he was like, that's kind of Kirby Smart's message. That's not really my message to the team. And again, he kind of turned it over to we're letting the doctors tell them,
Right.
give them the information, let them make the decision. But to me, if I were one of those coaches,
Sure.
really in any of the sports, honestly,
Right.
I think the competitive advantage and if you really want to win, this was something I was surprised to see earlier in the week. Michael Irvin brought up this point that, if you really want to win, if you take a vaccine, that's probably going to ensure that you're going to be able to be on the field.
Right.
You would probably do it. I mean, I understand everyone wants to, be educated on
Sure.
the risk
Whatever.
and all
Right.
that stuff, yada, yada,
Right.
yada.
Yeah, but, bro,
That's just. I just think it makes too much sense just to get the shot.
And the thing is that last season they had all these delays, they had all these postponements. Auburn's last game was against Mississippi State because of postponements because of COVID.
On like December 12th. I mean,
Right.
That was well
Right.
after it should have been.
That ain't happening this year. Ain't nothing happening. You're forfeiting if you can't field a team.
Yep.
And you're gonna lose if you don't have an if you have a wiped out offensive line or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you got to play.
Yeah.
So. That's just something that every team's going to deal with. That was a storyline all week here, so we're giving it to you.
Absolutely. So we talked about Harsin. There really wasn't a ton other than the things we hit on that really stuck out. I'll be honest and say that I think we hit on some of the biggest things. But
Sure.
what about Owen Papo or
Sure.
Bo Nix? Anything that kind of stood out or things that kind of stick with you as we talk about what they were able to say today?
It's kind of interesting that, two juniors came up, but, that just speaks to who Bo and Owen are as leaders on this team. It's their team, man. Like, there's no question about it, and especially Bo on offense, but even Owen on defense. He's the Bo of the defense, and, they came in together. They were the bell cows of that class. So really just their presence here, them being here, because it's usually always like it used to be 3 people, but it used to always be 3 seniors. Whoever, someone on offense, someone on defense, someone on special teams, or maybe a big line guy, right?
Yep.
But for them, it's like, nope, Owen and Bo, and they're probably going to be back here next year unless Owen's in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
I think it just kind of speaks to who they are. I think just them getting picked, honestly. And, of course, everything they said was you asked Owen about the weight room. I thought that was interesting, right? Because that's, the summer, like, that's been one of the big things that they've been talking about. It's like, hey, how are we going to get bigger and stronger? That's part of this Brian Harsin blueprint, right? Like, that's a big part of it, because it hasn't been bringing in 5-star players, but part of it is so far. And he spoke about that too. We can get to recruiting, but yeah, the weight room. Like, if there's something that someone would, if you're getting excited about something going into fall camp, the weight room is definitely one of them. And Owen talked a lot about, he filled out his suit, brother.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The 2 things that kind of stood out to me, one from each of the players. Owen was talking about, basically a newfound confidence. Like he said, my confidence is through the roof going into this year. And I think that's something that, if you're an Auburn fan, you got to be really excited about. Because this was a guy that already, recorded triple-digit tackles last year.
Yeah.
And he's saying, with the experience I've got and sort of understanding what is expected of me, I'm confident. I'm ready to go out there. I'm interested to see when the All SEC preseason teams come out. Is
Sure.
he one of those linebackers that gets a nod, gets some recognition? Because he and Zacoby both, I thought, deserved some recognition last year from how they played, especially stepping up with KJ Brett hurt.
Yeah.
But he spoke really highly of that, and it was interesting when we talked to Brian Harsin. He mentioned that one of the first people he met, as far as the players at Auburn, was Owen.
Yeah.
I mean, Owen basically came over and
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to
a new
meet him.
story. We hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to leadership. I think that speaks to a guy that I think has really proven himself on defense. I think he
Sure.
can play even better than he has.
Right.
But when you got a guy that's like, this is important to me, it triggered for me a story I did, a freelance story over the summer, going back at Georgia. Hines Ward, Jim Donnan, who was Georgia's coach, talked about the same thing. He said the very first person who was in my office was Hines Ward.
Really?
I think if Owen Papo could have a similar career as someone like
Yeah,
Hines
I think
Ward,
that would work.
that's pretty high praise.
Didn't Hines play quarterback, or am I
Played
thinking?
quarterback, played running back, played receiver.
Get Owen back there.
Yeah,
Get
I
him
mean,
in. Get him
we
in.
might have talked. Didn't we talk about
Yeah.
moving guys around? Owen might be that guy.
Hey man, I'd like to see him take a snap, take a carry, bro.
Speaking of taking snaps, the
Hey.
other guy, Bo Nix.
Bo Nix.
See that transition?
Yeah, man.
That's how you
He,
do it.
it travels.
It
He
just-
brought it on the
I
road.
brought it, man. The thing that I was really taken by was him talking about how much more comfortable he feels under center, because that was going to be
Yeah.
the biggest difference,
Right.
really, from Gus Malzahn and what Mike Bobo and Brian Harsin are
And
looking to do.
He kind of put it clear. It's like, I'm not going to tell you how much we're running under center,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's definitely more under center. Justin's here. Justin, come talk. All right.
What's up?
We're talking about Bo Nix.
Yes.
Under center. What do you think, man?
It's
A lot under center this year, or no?
If you go
half?
back and look at Boise State's offense, it's like if you go back and look at Boise State's offense, it's kind of more 50-50.
Okay.
More than just like one leaning high one or the other.
Okay.
I think Brian Harsin has that track record of building to what his quarterbacks are good at.
Okay.
Bo Nix has barely ever been under center in his career.
Right.
That is an adjustment. They talked about it in spring practices. Some guys have a hard time making that move. I think Demetrius Davis is going to be another one like that.
It's interesting how he said, like, I can see the defense different, and his eyes are up. I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're under center, your eyes are up, and you're looking at the defense when you get the snap, whereas you're in shotgun, you're watching the ball.
And Brian Harsin told us in the beat thing this morning something very, very, very interesting to me, where he says, when I coach quarterbacks, you have to win pre-snap. You have to win pre-snap. And, like, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Gus Malzahn's offense. There wasn't a lot of talk of that, right?
Sure.
Yes, checks and all that, but, like, remember when the storyline was always, can they audible at the line of scrimmage? And that
Yes.
was it. It's like,
Yes.
you have
Or Cam
time-
Newton on the QB with Gruden. Remember that? And
Yes.
he was like, "What's a play?" And Cam's like, "You put me on the spot. We didn't call plays."
Right, exactly.
It's always been that way with Gus,
So
right?
I think winning in pre-snap, if you make him more comfortable, more calm, more collected, this is the year, he's having fun, that kind of thing. Dark horse for Heisman. Like, no, I think the thing with Bo Nix is, like, if he is one of those guys that has been taught how to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more collected in the pocket, and can win before the snap. The thing about Bo, we all know, is he's got talent. He makes
Yeah,
great plays.
yeah.
But sometimes when the bullets start flying, things get inconsistent, things get wonky. If he can be better at knowing where to go when things get out of control, like Harsin said today, I think you're going to see a better quarterback this year. I don't know how much better, but you're going to see a better quarterback.
Justin Ferguson, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Ferguson, the Auburn Observer.
Subscribe
coming
to the
in.
Auburn Observer.
Subscribe to the Auburn Observer. Justin on the spot.
Thanks, Justin.
What a hit! That's a radio hit right there.
That was amazing.
That was amazing. All right.
I blacked out watching that. It was incredible.
So yeah, hey man, yeah, under center, yeah. I was curious of I was genuinely curious of what he said of how much it will be, because we
Yeah.
don't know.
No,
but
and they're
yeah.
definitely not going to tell us.
Yeah, no. But like we said, Bo said he likes it. Bo said he likes going up under center. I thought that was, I'd never thought of that before. Honestly, that's a weakness on my part.
No, I agree.
I
mean,
never
you
considered
don't
seeing
really,
the defense from a different vantage point.
You don't really consider that. I mean,
Right.
the fact that visually it will look different for him and,
Yeah.
and what he can see with the defense.
Right, and Bo being the the football nerd he is, he's I don't know, he's eating it up. He likes that. He likes something different, so he's having fun with it. I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that is going to be something that will be fun to watch as we get into the season and
Yeah.
and just see what they wind up doing as far as the splits, but under center and shotgun and what that winds up looking like. All right, Justin, I got to ask.
Okay.
This was your only day at media days.
Yes.
I was here all week. Just what was your takeaway just from the experience and Radio Row, all that fun stuff that comes with media days?
Hey man, it's only my second time. I have managed to avoid it for a very long long time. But no, it's fine. It's good. I will be back. And next year we're in Nashville.
We will both be that.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna
making that
go
trip
and make good decisions.
But yeah, I mean, it's good for everyone to be back, man. Honestly, and so many writers. I joked earlier, but everybody, you know, everyone knows each other. We have colleagues, you know, and everyone's spread all across the country. I was sitting in there next to my old roommate from Odessa, who covers Missouri now. Man, it's great to catch up to people, to see everybody in one spot. You know, I mean, God forbid, it's like, I hate to make things about the media, but it is media day. Can we have 3 days?
Can you give us
for
that?
ourselves?
4 days.
4 days.
That might be asking a
That
little
is too much.
That's
Yeah,
too much.
let's cut it to 2.
3.5 at most.
But for the media, it is a good time. So there you go. I mean, that's the only. This is it though.
Oh, for sure.
This is.
Now we
It's
turn
over
the
now.
focus back to the football players and the coaches. To the
Yeah.
point you made, I was able to be here all week, which was neat, to talk to a lot of the different coaches. You know, some with connections to Auburn's new coaching staff, some with our coverage area that have local kids that
Yeah.
Alabama's got a couple local guys. Florida's got Mahmoud Diabate.
Yeah.
Who, anytime I can say Mahmoud Diabate,
Yeah.
I take full advantage of doing that.
Or a Christian story.
Oh, absolutely.
We love stories.
Yes, we love it here on the podcast, folks. But the thing for me was really the chance to get to see these other writers. To the point you made, I mean, there was a couple of guys that I worked with at the student paper at Georgia.
Yeah.
Had a chance to spend some time with them. Haven't really been with both of them probably since we graduated.
Yeah.
So that was neat, and obviously got a lot of work done. Got to hear some stories and got to tell some good stories and stuff that we're going to keep talking about
Yeah.
really going into the season.
We've got our notebooks full now. I mean, and it's between now and August 5th when practice starts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is what we'll go off of.
Speaking of storylines, we're definitely going to be talking about for the coming weeks, months. I mean, maybe even into next year. Oklahoma and
Hey, man,
Texas.
that bombshell.
Apparently, there was a report from the Houston Chronicle that there's some intrigue from Oklahoma and Texas about joining the SEC. Obviously, that would kind of be the start of a super conference, and
Sure.
would probably set off
Change everything.
It would set off a ton of dominoes elsewhere. What was your immediate reaction? We got to see Jimbo Fisher's quite literally his
Yeah.
immediate reaction.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on the idea that two of the Big 12's really most storied programs could be coming to the SEC?
The funniest part was Jimbo's reaction was, "Yeah, I bet."
Yeah, I bet they would like to join.
Yeah, because I mean, you can see this happening because I mean, what was it last December? ESPN and SEC came to a $3 billion.
That's what I said on the radio. I said that's a B with a B.
$1 billion, $300 million over 10 years. I mean, so I mean, hey man, Texas Longhorns and money go together.
I mean, that's like
So-
American apple pie right there.
So yeah, so it kind of makes. I mean, it kind of makes sense that there. And obviously, we don't know the depth of these inquiries. I don't even think the Houston Chronicle detailed it that much. More so than. But there's fire to the smoke. Almost said smoke to the fire. Is that? There's fire to the smoke.
Where there's smoke, there's
Okay.
fire.
Because several national people have reported. I think Brett McMurphy here, some others have reported that Big 12's having a meeting.
Yeah.
Like people are getting on planes and getting together because of this thing. So
Yeah.
it's there's something to it. So yeah, I mean, hey man, I mean it's money talks. I mean I guess that's the immediate reaction. Whether it'd be fun to watch or not, I don't know. It'd be fun to see Texas and Texas A&M have to play again after doing everything they can to avoid each other.
Part of me, just for the sake of just the bitterness between both, is like they insist they have to be in different divisions.
That'd be
I mean,
hilarious.
it doesn't make sense. They're like, no, the
Yeah.
one way we're coming.
Yeah.
The thing to keep in mind, which a lot of people pointed out, is this could very well help. Sort of when Texas and Oklahoma are. It's kind of bargaining chips if they want to stay in the Big 12, the
Yeah.
fact that this is out there. I mean,
Yeah.
if they decide, look, we don't really want to go to the SEC, but this is out there. If
Right.
we want to try to get a little more bang for our buck in the Big 12.
Right.
So you have to consider that, but you can obviously see why going to the SEC would be very appealing for both programs.
And while the SEC it'd be appealing to pick them up.
Oh yeah, I mean, really, besides maybe like Clemson, I
Yeah.
would say Texas and Oklahoma would be the premier teams you could go get
Sure.
that still make relatively
Some geographical sense.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Besides like Clemson, I think those two would be the teams you would aim for.
Right.
And just as a college football fan, I would be excited to see it. I know it would be a whole lot different than what we're used to, but I just like the idea of like Oklahoma and Georgia and Alabama playing on a pretty regular basis. And obviously, I think you would see reactions as far as ACC and the Pac-12. They would maybe try to join, bring in new teams because really when the expansion thing, conference realignment really took off like around 2010, 2011, there was always the thought that there would be these super conferences.
Right.
And you had Texas A&M and Missouri join the SEC and a couple other moves with other major conferences, but it never really came to pass.
Right. It wasn't the European Super League,
No,
like we thought it was going to be. Right?
No, but maybe this is.
Maybe it is.
Maybe this is what winds up being the start to that.
Sure. I think it would be huge for SEC non-revenue or non-football sports. You look at Oklahoma gymnastics as a powerhouse. They're both strong in baseball. Oklahoma softball is a powerhouse, and then Texas track. Man, Texas has the premier track and field facility, as far as I know, out in Austin. Maybe they got something up in Oregon. Maybe that Nike money's got something up there.
I would think they probably could give them a run for their money.
Yeah, but in Austin, that's they've got a premier track and field program. It would be huge, I think, because Texas is kind of like Stanford, where they're good at a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Golf and everything else. So it would be big for not just football, I think.
I agree.
Do we want to see it? I don't know.
Personally, I think I do. I know that there's going to be pitfalls that come with it.
I wish you could try stuff out for a few years and then go back. Yeah.
Give it, sign like a 2-year lease and be like, nah, I don't think I like it. But I'm excited just to see what comes of this, and obviously we'll be tracking it and keeping up with what that means for the conference. Well, we're getting ready to head out, go back to Opelika. There's a ton of stories from today. Any other thoughts from Media Days and what the experience was like and getting to see Auburn on the big stage?
It just keeps rolling, Jordan. It just keeps rolling, baby. It never ends. That's the best part.
And, hey, I just want to say for our listeners that like high school football, we're going to have the Media Days next week. We are not done with Media Days.
Never.
We're going to have high school Media
after
Days.
This we will be.
Well, it's coming soon. It's just not yet. But, yeah, we'll have high school Media Days in Opelika, so that'll be fun to get to see all the local teams. And that's just when season's almost here. We're going to be busy covering high school games, and then before you know it, it'll be Auburn versus Akron and Jordan-Hare.
I love it, baby. I love it.
Can't wait. Well, let's go get ready.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, again, thanks again for listening. Thanks for watching us on the road edition.
Featuring Justin Ferguson.
A guest appearance from our favorite Auburn beat writer, not named Justin Lee or Jordan Hill. Justin Ferguson, obviously, go check out his stuff at the Auburn Observer.
Auburn Observer, yep.
Yes.
Awesome.
On that note, we're going to head out of here, and until next week, take care.